Welcome to the first episode of, I think, Off the Cast, After the Cast, Breachers at Night. I don't know. Insert something for now as we kind of figure that out. But, you know, I feel like it might need to be said, but technically this is not really done in association with VRML. This is kind of meant, you know, for us to kind of come in, have a more casual chat, kind of just talk through some of the things that I think we want to talk about the Breaches community, things going on with the game, going in the competitive season. That, you know, it's meant to be more of a casual look at Breachers, and we get to do it in a live format, right? We normally don't get to do that because half the time, not half the time, 99.99% of the time, we have to have some delay, right? And that's for competitive integrity, that sort of stuff. But it'll be nice because stuff like this, we get to hop in. Maybe people are in the chat, we can talk with them. See what's going on with that. We will figure that out as we kind of go along. Anyways, let me introduce all my fellow co-hosts, and that I got a fair amount of us out here. We got Old Gravy, his webcam's in and out. We'll figure that out over time. We have Gibular Bob
here.
Don't
use the fucking
and
phone.
And it, you know,
right.
We got you there. We got you in.
Is that better?
Okay, there you go.
Right.
All right.
Let's
Oh fuck.
All right.
S tier.
This is gotta be
amazing.
What a start.
There we go.
What a start.
Yeah, what a little bit of a funky start. First time really hosting in that format. You know, I've never had, I think, 4 people with me on a cast at a time with the webcams out and everything. Even like Bob and Hertage. No, at most we have maybe 3. I don't think we have any more than that ever. So we're hopping in. I mean, what are your all's initial bets for when the season 3 start will happen?
Probably tomorrow is my good bet. It's just I'm gonna wake up with an announcement. I'm gonna be like, hell yeah!
It starts on a Friday. It starts on a Friday. We no longer get our matches on Monday.
What?
The announcement.
Okay, I mean, my guess. I don't know. Here's my thing. I've noticed. I think the last couple seasons when they did it, anyone correct me if I'm wrong. I swear they usually do it like a month out. So my guess is at this point, I want to say like first week of August 2nd. I honestly would put money down on that. I could see that kind of working out. That's in 4 weeks.
Martini, are you aware we're on August 8th?
Sorry, let me backtrack. September 2nd. I'm sorry. September 2nd. I know we talked about this. I think it'd be funky. Never mind. I'm not gonna say why for the next week, but September 2nd is a good one. It's either September 2nd or the 16th. I swear, if they do it the second week, it'll be an interesting choice. I think for lack of memes, I don't even know what to say. But yeah, that's honestly where I think it's gonna head. I don't know. What do y'all? Is that too late? Is that too early? Do y'all want it? Like, I don't know. I feel like it is kind of going on. They've kind of been like holding us out dry. I'm kind of shocked.
I mean, I thought I saw a mod. I think it was maybe Frosty said they were trying to aim for early September. I can't remember where he said it. It was in one of the public channels, but
I mean, it might be one of those like league question ones or league chat because I know they're hot, like constantly talking in those.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of yapping in those.
There's a bunch of questions in league question going like when season 3, and like
they're on the daily.
I will just troll and say like 2062, maybe 2062. I think that's
it hasn't been that long.
That's my guess of when season 3 starts. No,
what was long? I was waiting for that damn finalist skin.
How long does it normally take for y'all to receive that? Like a couple months or how long?
Dude, that finalist skin, took like forever. Like,
wait, season 1 or season 2?
Both of them took for. I mean, season 2 I think was faster, but season 1 skin like they hyped that up.
Season 2 was more complicated because you had to use the stat tracker instead of the support code.
Yeah, there was everyone like gave their info and stuff, and then they just built up all that hype. Like, oh, it might come out next week. It might come out the week after. And
I mean, I think everyone's mostly excited because they're like, oh, it's gonna be a different
the gun
skin
comes out. It looks like a pile of shit.
Everyone has. Oh, I think it looks alright.
Okay, I think it's.
Wait, Hertage, do you have the skin? Do you have the skin?
No opinion. No skin. No opinion, Hertage.
You don't even have it, Martini.
I'm not talking shit about it. Okay, never mind. That's a lie. I would talk shit. Nah, we're talking shit about. If we're talking shit about
all
fucking.
All they did was turn down like the color contrast.
Oh damn! I don't know. If we're talking shit about gun skins, I'd probably go in. I'd say some stuff about. I think the global elite one. It just
Yeah,
feels kind of
global
right. It
champion.
just feels like I think with the color scheme too,
Yeah.
it feels like a ripoff. I don't want to say it's a ripoff of VRML, but it kind of feels very similar-ish. And considering that we have those finalist skins for the Vezins on top of that, I've seen it, and I remember I saw the finalist skin. I'm like, oh, this does look like cool. And then I saw the global elite. I'm like, I was like, whatever.
It's like chicken nuggets.
No. Okay, I am convinced I'm the only person in the Breachers community that unironically likes the Global Champion skin. I think it looks good. And everybody I talk to says they hate it. It's wrong.
I think there's a reason
You're all
why. I
wrong.
mean, Bob, like,
Wrong.
let's be
You're
real.
all
There's a
wrong.
reason
You're
why.
I feel like
I'm
there's
right.
a certain like demographic for global champion.
I like the
Like,
texture and how it shines and
the
stuff.
dude,
Like,
that
you were to, like,
texture is on like every
it
other
looks-
like skin.
no, if you were like rub your hand
I
along it,
honestly
it would
think
be
bronze
cool. You know,
looks
it's like,
better.
like
Bronze
pumpy and
somehow
stuff.
looks better than global champ.
Okay,
No,
but
that's
it's the
just-
colors.
Okay.
The problem is the colors. If they did a different color
Yeah,
combo, 10 times would be better.
exactly.
But
Because
they-
I mean,
but
when
they
I
went
look
with like, they went with like LA Rams. You know, it's like no one wants. That's not a champion right there. You know.
wow. I mean, because look, when I saw stuff like the Master or even Grandmaster skins, I mean that deep red, that deep purple, just like it really stands out. Like it's really a cool color choice. And I think with the blue yellow, maybe again we have a different association because we know it to be more VRML kind of associated, but it just kind of doesn't stick out the same way in terms of like how strong those other skins below it do, right? I mean,
Yep.
you can see that purple skin. I'm pretty sure across the map very easily. Definitely that red one for sure, right? But the global elite, I think just doesn't have that kind of standout attention. I saw it. I mean, who was I playing with? I forgot who I was playing with. But
Are you trying to say that like skins are like grind to lose? Because
that one
that's
is.
kind
I
of
think up
like
to Grandmaster
the state
is
they're going
great, and then
for.
after that is just whatever. But anyways, we got a list of topics. Let's try to stay sort of on the bar. But the next one I came up, I think I saw the meme in like Gravy's chat, Gravy's server, and I was like kind of like, wait, did this actually happen? And if people aren't aware, I think Bob, you probably know a little bit better than me. You might be able to inform it better. But BCL, right? The Breachers Champion League, I believe, kind of went on a hiatus, right?
Breachers
Because
Champions League.
of sponsorship and stuff like that. I'm kind of curious, like, how do y'all think that might impact something like the? I mean, at this point, VRML might be the only competitive league, right? They had like, right? They have a monopoly, I guess, on the comp league at this point.
And Martini, that is a great question.
Hold
but
on. Don't
however,
be afraid. Change the topic real quick.
I will. I'm going to change the topic real quick because Rezi K Hertage. Do you see the comment?
No, we're not talking about my walkabout.
Talk about how
It's so funny because Rezi has no idea we were literally just talking about how bad you were at walkabout.
They were just flaming Hertage.
What happened? Was there just like a walkabout game that I just totally missed? I need to see a video of performance here.
I think for my own like quote unquote status, I think I'm just not gonna talk about it.
No, go ahead, Hertage. We're all listening.
No, I think that's fine. I think we could just talk about BCL.
Yeah, bring it back, guys. We gotta reel it. We gotta reel it in.
Watch that video, Martini, of him playing walkabout. You'd be there all day.
Yeah, send me that. I would love to see that. I'm totally down to see that. But no, anyways, like BCL going on a hiatus, that could be a pretty big deal. Because I know people compare these two leagues. I remember one point someone said BCL is a better league. VRML just feels like a pub league, and I was kind of like, whoa, those are pretty strong words. Granted, it was like I think preseason, season 1, but still, like people have I think strong opinions between two different leagues. Do you see this hiatus like bringing more teams to VRML, or not really doing much?
Anybody else want to go? Or
I think I'll go. Because I've been I've been with Breachers like ever since the alpha came out, and I was along with I believe Ripster. I commentated the first ever like spring tournament for BCL, and I think it was notable in that point of like being the first ever league for Breachers. They were the first to get sponsors in, and then I think and it was like going smooth for like the first half, and I think they were the only league that was at the time willing to go global. So you were often playing like European teams or like Asia Pacific. But then I think like when the competition started to come out, I think that's when it started to have this overall like issue of like okay, we need something to start to stand out compared to these other leagues. And I think BCL, and I think with the addition that like last month we just finished up VRML Con, we just finished up the overall like grind. What's the point of like just playing BCL? And then even that, there's like a lot less teams compared to VR Master League, and I think a lot of that reputation is just like if you get like banned or suspended from like VRML, you just move to BCL. I think that's kind of the overall representation that BCL has right now, and I think the way that management has like tried it, they've tried to obviously make it like a bit more better, but I just don't think you have like literally like no staff trying to commit to it, then it's obviously it's gonna like start to have a really bad hiatus. And I think as you said, there is gonna be that monopoly that VRML does have over features, and having that competitive scene flocking over to them. But I just think that if we do want to see a lot more competition, there's obviously there's something that VCL does have to do is like try and like one up VRML. Like if you want to put like land on the side, there is a lot of things that BCL could do that could put them a little bit a step up above VRML.
Yeah, I know I talked about this at like VRMLCon and just kind of the different approaches that could be done by different leagues. Given that, I'll say this, one of the biggest things I got to give credit to VRML is just that organization. I think BCL had seen that like one of the hardest things in running a league, honestly, isn't like having the players. I mean, yeah, obviously you care about player count and all these things, but one of the hardest things is just management, right? Organization, dealing with mods. Because no matter what, something's gonna happen, some shit's gonna hit the fan, and you need someone to come in and like kind of clean it up. And I think you realize like it's not. I remember, like I was a team captain for a couple seasons, and I tried doing BCL actually for one of the seasons. I was like, oh, let me double dip, and I left. I think literally first season for BCL because we just kind of kept running into problems with organization, getting games, dealing with mod tickets, and things just not working out for us. And it just I remember one time like I tried to ask for a mod, and like I think the only available mod was some EU mod. So the guy was like out or whatever, and he's like, you gotta wait until someone wakes up. And I'm kind of like, yo, what the fuck? And I think they realized like it's cool, it's fun. I think it's really fun. The IDA be like, oh, it'd be so cool if we had this league or this or that. But they learn like it's very different, right? The day to day I think is the hardest part about running the league, and it's almost a full-time job, and you're not really getting paid that much yet. I doubt they got we're getting that much money in the first place. So it's like you're doing all this work to get shit on all the time, to not really get paid well, but it still feels like a full-time job. So my heart goes out, I think, to people trying to run the league. I can have whatever complaints I have about any league or whatever, but I understand like starting it and wanting to do it is such a cool endeavor. I think it's great, especially in the VR space, right? We have like so many up and coming leagues, competitive games too. It's cool to see that kind of finally being fostered, but it kind of just sucks seeing a league die, unfortunately. And I mean, obviously I made my alignments pretty early on, but that's because I think I realized like organization is going to be the bigger deal. And I don't want to say I came out to be right, but I saw that happen. That's why I made the choices that I did. But I still feel for a league that wants that. I don't want them to lose. Like no one wants that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that what I personally think would happen, because if you guys remember VREL?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gone too. I think there's
talked about.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a monopoly being ran by now by VRML. They're just hiring like really trained like hitmen and just taking out all of the corporate people at each of these leagues, so they could just have a monopoly on just one league. I think that's what's happening. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, I think BCL and stuff definitely needs to be a little bit ran, a little bit better, I guess, in terms of banning those players. If you're banning VRML, there's no reason why you should also be banned. And BCL, I mean, you're probably banned for a good reason. Don't think you should compete in another league as well. So yeah, more mods will definitely help. And I think that's kind of what the downfall was. I'm not really too sure. I mean, they were working on like a website, which I think is the reason why a lot of people like VRML over BCL, because a lot of people like looking at their team and seeing their logo and stuff, their rank, and watching them climb.
It's also just useful, right? To have that UI to interact with and get all this information.
Yeah, it's definitely way more useful and more satisfying to look at, and it makes it feel like you're actually working towards something. When BCL comes out and you're just like, oh, okay, I got my matchup. All right, I played the game, but now what? What was that for? It's kind of hard to track. It's you don't even see, you don't even really know where you stand necessarily. They have like somewhat of a website, but it's not very polished very well, and like the roster names are all still wrong.
The issue with the website is, like the CSS is like fucking horseshit. I spent like 2 years just learning how to build websites, and it broke like so many rules on like how you should properly like format it, and like it's somehow bad on mobile, which is like I'd argue like 80% of the users that are gonna be in virtual reality, because they don't properly own like a fully fleshed out like laptop or computer. So a lot of your users are gonna be mobile based, and I think when they try to do that, they like, I don't know who they hired to write their code, but like the CSS is just like really poorly written, and it just, I don't think it helps
I mean,
a
look,
lot.
I'll say this, Hertage. Like, I mean, running a league, I think they learned it's a little bit like a small startup, right? Like, and unfortunately, they might not have the skill set, and they don't have the money to get those guys. So I get it. But funny thing talking about the website, actually, I remember I was complaining about stuff to someone, and I'll say this, most of my BCL experience is from like their original season, and I know a lot of things have changed, right, from that till whatever their current season was or something like that. But I remember I ran into a conversation. I'm not sure if it was a mod, but it was like someone that had some kind of sway, at least to me, because I was interacting with them as a captain in the league. And I think one of their standout comments they made to me was just that like websites just felt like old school or something like that. It's not really forward thinking or whatever. And I was just kind of like, I was dumbfounded by that. I'd never in my life have someone say, that a website is just like basic, I guess. But because websites used for, I think, most interactions we do, right? So I was kind of shocked by that statement. I remember I was like joking about it with my co-captain, and I was just kind of like, maybe we shouldn't, because this league, there's a lot of things going on, and I don't want to rag on them, right? I don't want to spend this podcast ragging on them, but I'm just kind of curious how y'all think this, the impacts from this will affect us, good or bad, right? In terms of VRML and the competitive season in general. I think Bob, you probably got a lot to say about it.
You probably have more
way
experience
involved.
because you were the casting supervisor.
Yeah, it's tough. And of course, I do have major respect for everybody in the BCL, right? Because I mean, it's not easy to create your own virtual reality esports league, but I mean, they had a tough challenge ahead of them, to start with, because they're going up against VRML, who's got years of experience under their belt. I mean, VRML has existed for 6, I think, coming up on 7 years. So they've got that experience. And also, I mean, there are so many staff members in that make up the VRML. I mean, between managers, board members, moderators, casters, and all the people who coordinate everything, you've got such a massive team that makes up the VRML, and you have to have that, right? Because it's all volunteers, so nobody's making any money, nobody's getting paid. So you need people to donate their time, and then you need a lot of people, because not everybody can donate every waking hour of their life to work on an esports league. And I think BCL had a really strong season 1, because I remember checking when we were done with the season 1 finals, we had more followers on the BCL Twitch channel than we did on the VRML YouTube channel. And then I think what really killed a lot of BCL's momentum was that wait between season 1 and season 2, right? I mean, that was like 6 months. That was half a year.
Whoa, it was 6 months. I didn't realize it was that long.
It was because they were working on, I believe it was because
They were making
on the website and the new bot.
I'm pretty sure a long time ago, I think they were making like a quote unquote card game.
What?
Yeah. They were working on the BCL card game, but
a card game?
Yeah,
yeah,
that was the thing.
I heard about
never-
something like
you never
that,
saw
but I
it?
didn't realize See, that's what I'm saying.
Wow.
That's
I
what-
feel like
Okay, look, so Bob, that's why I said earlier, like starting league's kind of like a startup, right? They gotta realize like they only have so many resources. They gotta push in the in a certain direction. And I hate to say it, but like unless your fucking league stuff is and all that's totally up to par, it's hard to add in new stuff, and that doesn't sound like an easy thing to be quite honest, right? It's kind of hard to add in all this new stuff.
It was a passion project by OGY Zuko, their social media manager, and Parl, their one of their team managers. And I mean, I don't think it was. I don't think it's a terrible idea. Obviously, we never have gotten to see kind of how it works. So maybe if that did release, it would actually be interesting. There's not really much of a way to tell. I don't know if they're continuing to work on it, if that idea has been scrapped or not. We'll see. But I think at the moment, BCL has other things to worry about, like staying afloat. I mean, it's really bad that they had issues with their sponsors. They had to terminate a season. They're looking for staff right now to kind of continue to keep the league alive, because they've only got a set amount of managers, a set amount of moderators, and I just think it's definitely a problem with understaffing there, and understaffing can lead to organizational issues, and then that in turn affects the rest of league operations, match generation, the moderation side of things. So there are a lot of core issues that really stem from BCL. I personally think that they probably should have waited to release the website until maybe after season 2, and just stick with that system that they had for season 1, because it's not like it didn't work at all, and it would have helped us to get casting there sooner rather than later. And I think taking that big half of a year break was definitely
Killed momentum.
The start of it killed so much momentum from the casting team. We had casters that we brought on, and people weren't interested by the time season 2 was starting up. So I don't want to rag on BCL, because it's really the league that picked me up first as a caster. I'm very grateful to BCL and the team that they have there. But yeah, I mean, definitely there were a lot of issues that led to this point, and we'll see if they can continue to function as a league, or I think they're in some trouble right now. We'll see if they can get out of it.
So I'm curious then, what do y'all think? I think Hertage and Gravy, you might have touched on this earlier. Do you think that bodes well for VRML though? Because y'all had mentioned, some people might have seen BCL as like the, I guess, alternate league if you got banned or whatever. But so does that mean they will gain any teams from this hiatus for VRML, or it's the same news, whatever?
Every BCL team was in VRML. Yeah, the only team that I didn't recognize in VRML was a team called Scooby Snacks. Have you heard of them?
Yeah. I remember seeing them. I never saw them in VRML.
I know, I didn't see them in VRML either. But apparently they were really good. So there's that.
They were a Pavlov. They were a PCL team. So it's the same organizers, but for Pavlov. That's why they went to Regis, but they moved to VRML.
So wait, does anyone know then, is PCL affected by this too, or like that's still
no PCL has different moderators.
Okay.
They have different so like that's fine. They also started up like a new league, which is, I believe, Valor's League, which is Pavlov, but for PCVR/PSVR2.
I was gonna say BCL, like the Veil League or whatever.
No.
Okay.
That one is, holy shit, that is a fucking iceberg I don't want to go down.
Oh, no.
I want to integrate that a little bit more into the cast. I saw Gizmo was talking about the little stream highlights clip of the weeks that VRML did. I already spoke with Nightfire. I will be probably taking over that role for next season and making those. So hopefully.
So the Clipper is on this cast right now.
Yeah.
Old Gravy himself. Okay, Gravy. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Finally, we'll get some short.
Yeah, honestly, no, they're fun.
Yeah,
They're fun to see.
Those are
cool
ideas.
to check out.
So
But yeah, I mean,
I'll make-
players want to be in the spotlight.
Players want to be glazed.
They
just
do,
want to
yeah,
be glazed
yeah.
by
They
the
wanna be
official
glazed.
channel.
That's why people liked the VRML spotlights so much, because they got to be interviewed and then they had this clip that they had to break down. I mean, Chum did a really good job.
Oh yeah, that was an
with
incredible
this.
video.
Really, really well made. But yeah, I mean, people want to be glazed. So,
I feel that.
yeah.
This
Well,
was gonna be in my DMs like, Gravy, I'll give you $10, please. Use this clip.
I honestly wouldn't be shocked if people started
They're
approaching
gonna
you for
send the
that.
clip, and it's just like one kill in like a post plan situation.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
it's
so
gotta be-
speaking of glazing, I mean, one thing
Oh,
I wanted to bring up is, this upcoming season we've seen sorry, I'm like is that teams upcoming teams? Yeah, upcoming teams. But, I was looking at the rosters, I think in terms of the top 8 master tier teams. I think there's technically what, 4 or 5 left, because a lot of
There's
teams disbanded during
only,
this.
I think 5
postseason,
teams
correct?
that are like still remaining that were formerly in top 8. But I think like holy shit,
That's a big deal. That leaves like literally
the
more than half the
off-season
roster
was
to
like
play with.
this is like the biggest I've seen an off-season change. You have like top teams like F3, like formerly F3, now they're wrecked. And then I knew it wasn't a topics, but we'll talk about old wrecked later.
I mean,
and
we
I
can
think the
we can
reason
talk about
about
that teams. I'm specifically
Yeah.
looking more at the master tier teams.
I
I mean,
think because now there's a bunch of new talent that are like undergoing like these.
There's a
brand new
lot
names.
of
Yeah.
teams now. It's probably back up to that 80, 90 like teams
Mm.
now in the league. However, I don't think the top teams are up there anymore. A lot of the top teams kind of dissipated or did their own thing or quit. Apex, for example, they're no longer a thing. IVI though is coming back, and they have a whole different roster now. Have you guys see that?
Actually, Gravy,
I think they ran it back.
IV.
I think they're running it back. Oh,
My bad. Actually, it's IV and A,
Oh,
Bob.
but-
I'll correct your correction.
Oh,
wait.
my
So
bad.
I wanted to get what Hertage said. I think he made a good comment there that this is probably out of all the seasons we've seen. I mean, we saw preseason 1, now 2. Well, this is 2. But season 0 and 1, right? We saw some drop offs in terms of master tier teams. But I'm gonna be honest, I think it was probably like 6 or 7 teams still from the previous season. But we're not seeing that here. Do you think those top tier teams were maybe just formed for the finalists getting to say, fuck it, we got it, or
That's what we
is it
saw
because of
with-
new talent gravy? Like they said, hey, let's make a super team with this other guy that I know is cracked. And then instead of fuck this team that I'm on or whatever. Like is it just that like they want to create an even better team with the new talent?
That's what happened last season, though. With IVI or Aspect, they a couple of players left that and took a couple of players from Wicked. So 2 teams, some players, and then they created F3. So that was quote unquote super team, I guess you can call it. But that's the only team that I could really think of that did that. That ruined Wicked, so that's a team gone. That's rest in peace, Wicked. And then Aspect was gone, but they're back now as IVNA. And so they have a whole different roster. I don't know if they're going to be really good, really bad. I honestly need to set up a scrim, test that theory out. And then there's Rebel. Rebel's probably the top 3.
They're
right
gonna
now.
disband after like 3 weeks.
Yeah. We're not too worried about it. They're just gonna give up. Something's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I have money that they won't even make it like through the whole season.
Well, you want to know
probably-
You want to know some insider information right now? I'm not gonna say any names or anything, but there's some tickets going to be put in for you, Bob. For Rebel, so we may not see Rebel no more.
Okay.
Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about
I didn't say any.
Okay,
names. I didn't say any names.
I don't get Bob in trouble. I don't know what he. I don't wanna get Bob in trouble.
I don't know if anything's got put in yet.
I mean, it's
okay.
not like Gravy's a mod, so he's not breaking.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
not breaking any NDA.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure like someone's feeding Gravy information.
I get all the
So-
information. I have memes to make, so everyone tells me everything.
Oh, you're like the bartender. If you would just see it, and like, oh, I gotta talk to that
He-
guy.
he's like
Or the
like
barber or
like,
something like that.
corner side like meth dealer.
Oh, that's kind of extreme there, Tosh. I don't know.
No, I know.
What?
Because that's how you get like the like.
I
the
think
juicy
Barber is a
stuff
lot
right
easier of an
before it
example
happens.
to follow than that. What?
Jesus.
Um. Well, damn. Damn. I
I,
no, but I like it though. I always said this, like, as much as I do like seeing the returning teams, like, honestly, one of my favorite things is seeing a team
oh,
bump in to that top 8
lean,
because it shows that, like, hey,
lean.
like, there's still growth in the league. Because I
Got,
feel like once a league kind of hits a point where it's literally the same exact 8, either the league itself is stagnated, or the player skill itself has gotten so high to get to that level. You're talking about 1, maybe 2 years of grinding to maybe get there. Because I remember, I'm not gonna pretend like I was like heavy into the Echo VR scene, but I saw something similar in the Echo VR scene where, like, those top 8 teams, like, it was a lot of rotating people, because, like, to get to that level, you're talking like 1-2 years minimum of experience, and it was crazy. Because for anyone to have any less than a year's worth of experience and to be performing at that high of a level, was crazy. That was a big deal, right? And I think Breachers isn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, because I know people have other experience from other games, but in terms of Breachers, direct experience, I've seen some kid, like, I could say kids, honestly. I've seen some kids come in and just be fucking cracked, and they're they're in those top tier teams, right? Like, I mean, I saw a variety of kids on either the Acer squad or any of the master tier teams, and I doubt they've been in the VR space for longer than 2, 3, maybe 4 years. You know what I mean? I'd be shocked. But that shows that they can come in with good, experience already and perform well. So that's a good thing, right? I want to see growth in the league, and I don't know if I want to get to the point where we're starting to stagnate right on those top 8 teams.
Your number 1 player to glaze is in the chat, Bob.
I was gonna say look. I was gonna say my I think because Gizmo pointed it out earlier that teams are gonna have to watch out for restart.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really good point. I mean, they did particularly well against Acer.
Better than Fusion, I would argue. But
yeah, well, they did do. Statistically speaking, they got more rounds, and they put up more of a fight against Acer than Fusion did. Now, I don't know how seriously Fusion was taking things at that point. I think there were a lot of internal conflicts on the team, or they just weren't meshing well together. But I mean, we've got Shimmy Marui, Fishy, Gears, Egris, Maestro, Jai Guy, Parrot. And I mean, they have Lynx GTV, like the best breachers.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
I don't really see. I don't really see how they could lose. They have the best content creators. So I don't know. We might see Acer dethrone this season. What do you think?
I mean, they lost Plunge, right?
You are on some like hopium.
They did.
Like,
they did.
They lost Plunge. I saw they had a couple people switch in and out. I heard a lot of rumblings about Acer losing a lot of players, and then they were kind of gonna disband. I didn't see that to be the case. I see a lot of players still there. So I wonder, like,
good talent too.
Yeah, it looks like they might be a super team, right? I guess in terms
they only
of
lost 1 player, and then even then they moved to IV. They picked up Ace, which is like I'd argue a questionable pick, but like I could see Ace coming in as like a support or like flex player.
No,
But
he's
as like
he's
maybe a standout, like probably not considering the amount of on Acer.
So Hertage, Ace is actually statistically, I pulled all the rank stats for all these like top players and stuff, so I kind of know where they stand against other players. And the Ace he's pretty up there.
I was gonna say
He's definitely a good pickup. Probably the best furry in the league right now, and he's gonna kick some ass on.
Wait, what did you say?
You're gonna get Shimi mad.
Did I hear that wrong?
No, you heard that.
Oh my god! Wait,
Ace is gonna like come into the chat.
Okay. I mean,
and like
no, but no. I mean, yeah. Acer, I think they're a dynasty squad now, right? They got 3 seasons under their belt now, so at this point, it's like, can they keep that going? And I think I said this before. I think during postseason, after we just finished up with season 2. I think originally. We saw them, I'm gonna be honest, dog walking teams in 0 and preseason and 1, and I think because their skill gap was just that big, it allowed them to. But I think as we'd seen, I mean, your team, Gravy, we had seen that like there are teams getting closer and closer now, and I think that skill gap is getting smaller and smaller. I think, we have the inclusion of things like ranked mode where now people can constantly be working and grinding and getting better. Then obviously just having now 3 seasons worth of experience that like whatever natural talent they had on Acer is obviously still there. It's gotten sharper, it's better. But now the other teams, I think that gap is kind of starting to get smaller. And I wouldn't be shocked if this upcoming season, like we didn't see the same unstoppable Acer that we had seen in the previous season, right? Again, F3 was one of the few teams that
we just needed. I mean, we've beaten them in a couple of scrims, but they've beaten us as well in multiple scrims as well. It's very back and forth, and it's completely different in a actual like league match. We've tied them in a league match, but we really need like a really like upset to beat them, or we could also count on their like mental just completely falling apart, a bunch of disbands or something. That'd be pretty cool. Well, not really.
That'd be cool.
That would be no competition.
It'd be cool if Acer disband.
Or if, they get bored of the game and just stop playing or something, and then, maybe some win. It'd be more equal for everybody to get a win or something, because we all obviously know who probably is going to be the winner next season as well. I mean, they're just roster stacking super, super hard. But, it makes it for a really, really strong challenge for any team really that matches up against them. Every time they match up against them, like when that bot, whatever, like pings everybody, like in the team, every Monday, and they see Acer, they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's definitely like the
just
I
wake
get
up
Acer this
like
week.
a good Monday, and then you look at the match page and it's like Acer. You're like, all right,
like, good morning.
good morning. Get ready to.
Day is instantly
get
ruined.
No, it's not even day. It's your week is instantly ruined.
Yeah,
I mean, again, they did well. They did well. Like as much as it's hard, they are one of the few teams that have done, I think, consistently well, from my understanding, against them. I mean, again, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
I mean, yeah, statistically speaking, Acer is the most consistent team in breaches. They've won every single season that we've had so far.
Wait. So, are there any? How about this? Are there any like up and coming
flawless
teams though that you're all like, I know this team is gonna maybe be up, maybe top 10, maybe even.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
New F3 squad. The new F3 squad.
Yeah, I was gonna glaze gravy.
No.
I was gonna say wrecked.
I don't know if I can consider it up and coming. I'll be honest. That's
cheating, though.
That's F3 rebranded. That's F3 rebranded. Let's not lie. I'm talking like true up and coming. They weren't a master tier team previously. Let's go with that.
Yeah, I got three. I
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, of course, got a glazed Bob right here in his team. Right.
Bob's building a super team himself.
If you're gonna pull off that little plunge pickup or something, I don't know if that was in the works or not, but if he does come to that team, that's definitely gonna shoot you guys up a lot, I think, for sure. And then I mean, you got also great talent on there as well. Hane is really good. He's goated when he wants to try. So I know a lot of times he also run around with the Taurus and just sprint at people. Just hilarious. And if he gets,
Hane's definitely in the chat right now, like, shut the fuck up, Gravy.
No, if he does that and he gets casted, I'm gonna laugh my ass off and I'm gonna make a ton of memes. But other good teams that are coming up, we got Insane. I don't know if you guys heard of them.
Oh, I don't even heard of that one. Insane.
It's N and then Sane, SANE. They have one player that we have on our BCL roster. You guys know of Kai? He's on their team.
Yeah.
And they're Yep.
Okay.
They have some good players.
That's a decent stack.
And then the other good team as well is Lean. Lean's actually coming back. We played them in a couple of scrims and they did pretty good against us. They weren't no pushovers for sure. So I think they're going to be high up there. Low master, maybe high diamond. Be my prediction.
Okay, you some up and coming teams. That's probably some maybe might be poached on into one of the master tier teams. I don't know.
That might get poached into like the tier 1.
Gravy. Why didn't you say the new Formula 3 lineup?
We know why. We don't have to go into that conversation.
Yeah, we don't.
There's too many formulas now.
Yeah, it's like 4. Is it up to 4, Gravy?
It goes up to 4.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that try to carry on the legacy. Just it won't be the same.
Yeah, I mean,
so I think what's interesting. One team that caught my eye was Reload, sister team of Restart. I think they've got a pretty decent team there. I know they have a good captain. I'm friends with Stalemate, and he's
Mm.
really good at being a captain. So I think, and they put in a pretty decent performance against Restart. Now, granted, that was before they brought in Gears.
Yeah, but we're
I
talking
know-
about their A squad, right? Their top tier, and Reload's younger, right? Reload's younger, but team.
I think they've got potential to get up there into the high ranks if they really put in that effort. If they train. There was another one that I was going to highlight, but I can't remember. Oh yeah, Proteus. I'm interested to see how they do.
That is such a wild card. That is
didn't
a
you-
wild
yeah,
card.
because they of course won Onward.
They
at
won
VRML,
Onward.
but they've
No.
had a history in Breachers, and it's been slightly rocky. So I'm curious to see if they're gonna if they come back, how they're gonna do.
Real quick, the thing that happened at VRMLCon, that was like an invitational thing. So like teams that want to go and like play on stage and stuff like that, they can. It was like a small mini tournament. It wasn't really like VRML season, and it was a very big upset because I know Animal House had a very better record against them.
Yeah, they had a better record, and then
better. So
it is. I'm gonna be honest. It is shocking how Proteus made it through finals.
Wow, shocking. Okay.
Way to rip the
Okay,
band
I mean, also,
Can I explain what happened? Because I was in the stream when it happened. So it was, I believe, semifinals. When this happened, it was, I believe, I forgot what map it was. But it was, I think, Proteus versus After Hours. It was final map 2-2, and
is it the clip
winner goes
Arctic?
on. Yeah, it's on Arctic. And
Yeah,
then what happened was, it was Ninja Salad that was holding an angle, and then I forgot which player it was, but he managed to sneak, Ninja Salad.
Peas.
He just looked, it was Peas. Yeah. If he just looked towards his eyes, towards where Peas was, they probably would have gone that round. But the issue with the thing that makes Onward different is that if you upload it, if you get that cap in, it's like 2 points, and it's first to 4. So essentially, because Ninja Solid wasn't looking, he's managed to get the upload, and then essentially they managed to win that map, and essentially got themselves to play on the stage.
All Ninja Salad had to do was literally.
All he had to do was just look,
and he would be dead, and they wouldn't have won. So the casters the whole time were like, "No way, no shot, no shot, no shot," and then it happened, and like, what?
Can you just imagine the score being like 6-5, and then someone was playing right up to the EMP, and then someone just started defusing it, and they just weren't looking. That's how it literally was.
I mean, look, you could say that, you can say all these hypotheticals, but that happened, right? They did it. They earned it. I hate to say it, they earned it. And I said the same shit in playoffs. Look, you fought whatever way all season, you got placed on ladder a certain way, but when it comes down to it, the game falls how the game does, right? And that's how that went. I feel like I know y'all are saying it's a big upset, whatever, but you got to give credit to Proteus, right? But I will say that doesn't mean it will translate directly to Breachers.
I was gonna say,
because it is such a different game.
They're 2 different games.
Yeah,
and I think
they're so different.
Show.
And it's not like a game like Veil where it's a lot of it comes down to gun skill, right? So that can translate over between games. I mean, the pacing of Onward is just so different from Breachers. Breachers is much faster paced, closer quarters. Completely.
Everything's different.
Different TTKs, I would say. So yeah, I had that thought just now. I'm like, well, Proteus won Onward. Does that mean that they may start to break into Breachers a little bit? I don't know. We'll see. Because
I think they might be better off breaking into Veil, because if they have that gun skill, I think it just could easily translate. But because Breachers is a whole different game, because you could rely on aim, but I think utility is I'd argue the most important factor.
Miggy translated very well over to Breachers, and he's actually put a lot more hours into Breachers than a lot of his other teammates, I would say, because he was back when Hoggins had that ranked Discord. he was in that. He was playing that all the time, and he was carrying his team. He was doing really great. So Miggy is definitely a really good addition if they decide to. Are they playing this season? Did they even play season 1 and 2?
No, I think
I think they were in a portion of season 1.
they
then
played a
they
bit and then
disbanded.
I think they went inactive and then went on.
It's so hard to play 2 games at once in 2 different leagues too. It's like, oh, we got a breacher scrim. Oh, we got an onward scrim. Oh, we got. It's hard.
Well, yeah, dude,
So,
I'm always shocked when I see these players that I saw the VRML con, right? A couple players that are kind of cross-listed, right, across teams. And I'm like, dude, like I already know, like especially breachers, right? We're talking up to 2, maybe 3 hours if we're doing a lot of scrims. I'm just like, how the fuck do you have time to practice both different games? I mean, these are probably maybe they're unemployed or I don't know. they just have a lot of free time.
I mean,
But I'm
it's
just
like
shocked.
if you look at Tech 9 Junior, he's a younger kid. Obviously, I don't know everybody's situation or everything, but if you're in school, you probably have more time to get to
That's
that,
true.
especially during
Yeah.
like the summer. But I mean, even when you look at like Acer's teams, typically players are only on like one roster, and it's very rare that somebody's has a presence in 2 games. I don't know if anybody on Acer is in 3 different Acer teams, because I think it just spreads you so thin
it
when you're
does.
practicing for not just 1 game but 2 games. I think 3 different games would be like insane. That
like,
would be
yeah.
like, yeah,
You
and
gotta
maybe when we get into the stage of VR where players are making
Money?
$50,000 signing bonus salaries, and they can devote time to actually practicing and grinding multiple games every day.
bro.
I don't
I'd
think we're
quit
at
my
that
job.
stage yet, though.
That'd be awesome.
I want to get paid.
That maybe one day when VR is
One day.
more mainstream, right?
Well, I feel like we're getting there, though. Because we just had VRML Con, and that had a lot of sponsors to it. We had good viewership numbers.
I
I
mean,
think we're starting to.
I don't know. I think
forward.
I think we're still like a long ways away because I'll
Yeah.
consider this, right? Even in the I would say early days of VR, like esports
Like
gaming, we're talking
ESL.
2000s, right? We're talking like 2000s. I saw videos, right, of these people up to 200-300 more people honestly than VRML Con, and that's almost 20 years ago now. And I think people in terms of esports, it didn't really pop up in our brains until probably 2010s ish. Like we're talking like general people that they fucking know that these people are making, like we're talking bank, right? So we're barely even hitting those numbers that those guys were hitting 20 years ago. So we need to get, I think, well, first VR gaming to not be a niche thing anymore. It's got to be just general
More-
gaming. And
More
then-
content creators have to put the spotlight on it.
Yeah.
All these flat screen gamers need to start streaming and making content on VR games, because then all those people are watching those because it's their favorite creator. They're gonna be like, oh, that looks pretty fucking fun. I'm gonna have to buy that. Check that out.
Do you guys remember the like coalition of VRML players that sat in one of Jinxie's VCs and like changed all their names to please play Breachers?
It was like
somebody said, I think it was Mr. Tabs sent a donation.
I think,
through,
Tabs sent a
please
donation.
Play
Like,
Breachers VR.
He said he was going to, but he never did.
And then the VC was fucking filled with like, I think like every top player from VR in Jinxie's server.
It was a great alliance. There are NA players, EU play. Typically, I think a lot of NA and EU players don't like each other much at all.
Which is wild, by the way. I mean, we all played the game. We all played the
whole union. As
no. EU players don't like EU players, because that BCL chat, I swear to God, every single day there's EU players just arguing with each other nonstop. It's kind of funny, but it's just every day. You don't see that in like VRML with NA people.
You do. You see it with NA. You do.
Okay, but you got to think we have a way larger player base. EU doesn't. So seeing it, they argue that much amongst each other when they're that much smaller. It's just like,
true, yeah.
It's not very proportional, and they do it a lot.
Man, EU is such a dead scene.
I can't. Hey, it's still a scene, man. It's still there. I mean, we got to give credit to them. But yes, the numbers are definitely a little more skewed towards a certain NA. Anyways, I wanted to bring up the next one. I'm kind of curious to hear about this. I know Bob's giving me like shit like 10,000 times over about SMGs and this sort of stuff, but I'm curious, like, do you think there might be I guess, developing, I don't want to say SMG meta because no one's going to choose an SMG over a Vezin, but a change in the meta now where we're seeing SMGs kind of used more often. We saw a lot of usage in the grand finals. I saw a lot of it used a lot more in the postseason playoff matches, and I didn't see the same thing, in season 0. I mean, season 0 was kind of different because Omen was cracked back then, but towards season 1, with the changes, I didn't really see much usage. People kept going min-max from what I had seen, right? How do y'all feel about that? Do you see the SMG kind of becoming more, or the Omen, I guess, specifically becoming more of a economy choice at this point, or a half-buy choice that is consistently chosen, or this is kind of just one-off flukes, or people that are just feeling really confident about their economy?
No, I see it as okay, well, we have 2 more rounds. I could still buy a Vezin on the last round if I was to die with this Omen. So they go ahead and just buy an Omen over a Spectral, of course. But I don't see people buying an Omen if that means they can't buy a Vezin the round after that if they were to lose.
Yeah, it's really about the economy game there. Now, I was talking to Retalker the other day, and he was talking about how the RCP is a 2-tap headshot and it has a really fast time to kill.
RCP?
And
This is
RCP.
why you're taking advice from Retalker, Bob. I'm
Dude, I'm just
I've
saying
been
it's what he
saying
was saying.
that RCP is still a good gun. I've been saying
okay.
RCP is still a good gun.
I would
No.
fight that.
No.
I've shot with it, and the recoil pattern is literally it almost like outlines the person you're shooting at. It's kind of wild.
I mean, he was confident in his take. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess it must be pretty strong. I've tried to use it and I've died every time I've tried to use RCP. I think Omen is
because you're
actually
not
starting
using
to
the
get
fire
in
rate.
that power zone because I'm getting 2-tapped by Omens. I got
Yeah,
2-tapped by Omens today against Luna. Shout out to Luna. Stole my elo again.
Omen's definitely way more reliable in every aspect.
And cheaper,
RCP
right?
Literally, yeah, and cheaper. RCP literally stands for really crappy pea shooter. If you didn't know that, it's awful.
Breacher's lore, right there.
Well, dang. Oh, it sounds good. What about
All right, real quick. Worst looking gun.
Worst looking, Kadeo.
Huracan.
Really?
We're not talking skins, right? We're not talking skins, like just
Not
gun
skins,
model.
Just
a
gun model.
Gun model. I think Huracan. No, Cyclone. Cyclone looks fucking like funky.
Really?
I think so.
Let me think.
Purely off of
I
model.
want to see the chat's opinion too.
I'm gonna say the RL. I hate the RL.
I was gonna say,
I hate everything
that's what I
about
was
it.
Okay, that one's a pretty good one.
I genuinely
to be
hate the
shitty.
Kadeo. Like
I
the
just
Kadeo
think
is so bad.
I don't.
No.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the RL is objectively the worst gun in Breachers. It's way too expensive for what you need to do. Its damage isn't great. It has more ammo than the Vezin, but I mean, the only team I've ever seen make the RL work competitively, and Martin will agree with me on this, is War Dogs.
Even then, they had backups with Omens, so it wasn't like a team of all rails. It was both. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty sure I saw more Omen kills that or Viper kills that round than Orioles. You know what I mean?
I mean, they were still making it work, but I just think it is.
I can make any gun work if I'm being hard carried by someone else. Like I can make any gun work.
Wow.
Like I'll use whatever you want me to use. Just
right. I can run in with the Taurus shooting at the floor and make it work if I'm being hard carried by someone else. Right?
Yep. Like, oh, you need me to buy your attachments? I got you, boo. You want me to buy this util? I got you.
It's almost like you have a kid that's like, hey, can I buy this gun? And then you're like, go run off. I'm gonna kill everyone for you. That's what the RO kind of feels like sometimes.
Yeah. Careful about that Taurus slander. Hey, name might get a little angry there.
No. I'm not saying the Taurus is a bad gun. I'm just saying like I could literally be shooting it at the floor and make it work because I'm being carried by someone else. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like that War Dogs game was. Like this SMGs were just performing so well, right? But I'm not gonna say they didn't get a kill with an Oriole, right?
But I just quite a few. with the
But I
art.
saw more kills
Here's
coming from somewhere else.
so here's my Breacher's hot take, and something that I've been waiting for quite some time. I just want more general balance updates. I want them to take like guns and utility and mess with them a little bit. I
You don't
don't
like
think
just
we've
using
gotten.
Besin?
I think, dude,
Political statement
I think
there
we're
for
getting to a
Breaches.
point where I think having a one gun meta is starting to get a bit more boring.
I was gonna say it's feeling a little stagnant at the moment because everyone is, we're seeing a little bit more viability from
You know, we need
SMGs
to bring
like
the
Omen.
we need
Right.
to bring the Vezin Cyclone meta back.
No,
Swarmer
no,
Jazz
no.
now.
we
I want to
need.
bring in the Marui. I want the Bezin to have like actual competition where people are like almost
Right.
half the teams like, hey,
That's
I
what it
genuinely.
tried to. That's what Triangle Factory tried to do, but
Yeah,
like it
they-
ended up
they
being
gotta
bad
bump it. They
because
gotta
it
beef
was
it a little bit
super
more.
questionable.
I
It's like they've tried to
real
buff
quick-
it.
So yeah, I just liked when they really kind of tinkered with some of the biggest elements of Breaches. Like, do you remember the EMP change when it used to be
That's
4
when
minute and they changed
yeah.
it to 45
That
seconds?
was a good. I'd argue that was a good change.
That was a good
'Cause-
change because it completely changed the style of Revolter play from, we can just do a site retake because we have so much time to kill everybody and then get the defuse in. And it really encouraged the Revolters to do their job better. But, increasing the price of stims, decreasing the price of drones, they changed around gadget prices. They, changed the incendiary recently. I want more balance changes. I feel like Triangle Factory, as much as I like, them as developers and things that they do, I just wish they would focus a little bit more on some balancing changes over maps sometimes, because I think sometimes the focus is too much on just maps that the competitive meta of the game is just getting a little bit stale.
I get that, but
Yeah, I think-
I'll argue that the MP I think it was a needed thing or like a genuine I guess balance change, because I feel like you're sounding like the way you worded it. It sounded like maybe you're kind of introducing maybe I don't say randomness, but changes that are kind of for the sake of changes. I think the EMP was good for giving attackers a better balancing attack, setup in most maps, right? Because we know it's very defender oriented, especially even when they got the EMP planted. To your point, they can just retake, especially with a minute left. Like, it's a lot of time. 45 seconds gives them, it kind of gives them an advantage in a good way, right? Because it sucks. Imagine you have this whole setup that happens, and they finally go in, they get the plant off, and then they lose that anyways. It almost like didn't give them an advantage, which we know like planting is a big deal in this game, because most of the times, I want to say like a lot of games don't really come down to planting, right? It comes down to usually people dying, and people just die off on one side, and that the other side wins, right? At least consistently when I've been casting, people tend to win more rounds by just straight kills versus getting the MP. And I think that's why I think that made a lot of sense to me, because you go through all this trouble just to finally get the plant off, and you are finally rewarded for it. Versus, like I said before, it felt like a reward in that, yeah, you got the 200 plus per person on your team, but it didn't feel like a reward in the sense of like, now you don't feel like you're any closer to winning, to be quite honest. You feel like you're kind of in the same spot because you're still having to defend it for a full minute and dealing with a whole site retake potentially. Because I saw this so many times. Literally, someone could be cross map. They'll be able to crouch and walk across and still have time to engage, kill everyone, get to site, and defuse. And that's crazy. So it doesn't feel like in those scenarios that EMP planting was a good thing, which again is a very hard thing to do. So that makes more sense to me, but I don't know. I don't know if we need, I know you're saying things get stale, but that's why I think
I don't necessarily think it's changing just to change stuff, but I feel as though some reevaluation is necessary, because it's like we were talking about the RL. I mean, there are quite a few guns in Breachers. Obviously, there's going to be the rifles that everybody's going to reach for. That's how the game is structured. You want the most expensive gun because it gives you the most bang for your buck. But I mean, Cadillo, Auril, RCP, maybe the Viper, although people do like the Viper, Huracan. Those guns are, I think, in need of some reevaluation because you just don't really have much of a use for them competitively, and most of the time I see them used in pubs. The reason is because
They don't
the
know.
people
Yeah.
who are using them
They
don't know
don't
any
know
better.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah.
So they're like,
yeah.
"Oh, the Cadillo. This looks like a really cool gun."
This looks like a cool
But it's
gun.
not. It's not very. It's not very good. The Auril. This looks like a really cool gun, but it's it's not the worst.
I get.
gun in
I
the
know what you're
game.
saying. I think in terms of gun balancing, there's definitely like big standouts. Auril being one. You can argue the shotguns. You can argue sometimes the Cyclone. I know RCP. You know, I've been hearing a lot of shit talking towards that. There's definitely like that, and that's almost half of the guns. If you think about it, being half of them being almost quote unquote very useless, and because even the Omen's only useful in very specific economy choices, right? Taurus kind of. I mean, that one is just is a very unique gun, so you can't really talk about it too much. But I see your point. Like, I feel like the way I always looked at breachers, to me, my ideal gun meta or gun environment is, those pistols are meant for low economy rounds. You just need them to kind of, or you're starting it off, right? With the pistol round. The SMG is, if you have a good economy, maybe it gives you a little bit more firepower, but it's also risky play. But it's still viable in those kind of circumstances. And, shouldn't necessarily outgun the Vezin, which is what we kind of saw, I think, preseason with the Omen. But that, like, if someone does get the jump on you or something else, you still can sort of win. And that's why I think we were talking with some people at VRML Con, and they brought up some interesting choices where maybe something like an SMG could be, what was it called, like an anti-eco gun, where if you increase the kill bonus from it,
Right.
there
Yeah,
is kind of a...
that's what.
Yeah,
That's what
like,
Yellow
that's
Hat.
It makes it a
what-
very
about.
it makes it a
Yeah.
very interesting choice because we've seen
Yeah.
that in other games. I think understandably works in those, and this is an economy game, so maybe we can draw from those lessons and say, hey, like it's a risky play, and if you do make the risky plays, I think you should be rewarded for it, right? Versus if someone has an SMG during an Vezin round, or any other like normal round that they can afford it, like it's a risky play, to be honest, because if it doesn't work out, you can't buy a Vezin, right? But if you do make the play and it's risky and you win with it, you should be rewarded for that. Because I've seen it so many times, like maybe someone does go in for a half buy and maybe they could still, sometimes they could still win out that round. They might not be able to still buy a Vezin in the upcoming round. So that was it was a risky play. You got what you wanted, but you came out of it fucked, right? You're like, it's almost like you're in economy limbo at that point, because you got somewhere, but you're still stuck and you can only afford the same fucking guns. So it wasn't really worth it in the first place. And I think that's why for a long time, people kept doing this min-maxing thing, right? Just get the pistols until you get the Vezins. And I think we're starting to see a change maybe in that people, maybe they won the previous round, they have good economy that they can afford to get the Omen, and win or lose, they can still get the Vezin in the upcoming round. And I kind of like that. Like it rewards more interesting plays. And I totally, I'm with it. I'm with you where I want more guns to be more viable. I get it. There needs to be like a niche use case for them, but that makes it viable in some circumstance, which I think that's where the Auril kind of suffers the most. Cadillo, because that's a niche use case, right? You can it's still got one shot headshot potential. It's still sort of better. I think more reliable for a normal person than a Taurus, right? Because you're able to holster it and like shoot a little bit better.
Yeah, you've got better recoil control.
Right, but it's still risky. But it's
ammo.
a niche.
Yeah.
It's very niche. Auril has, I think that's the problem, right? Never feels any niche, and I think that's where the Marui kind of is too, where because of the cost in comparison to the Vezin, it doesn't feel a strong enough of a niche for people to be kind of competing between the two. I think people kept thinking like, oh, it's like the long range better Vezin and that sort of stuff. But when you're talking about there's only so many long range engagements, that doesn't really matter. Maybe it could be a wallbang gun, but it's like, well, it doesn't have that much ammo, in its mag. So you're kind of dumping guns like bullets through the wall, but you're going to run out pretty soon. So that's not reliable either. So I think one of the coolest Marui ones was just like honestly increasing mag size, because then that makes it more reliable as a wallbang gun. And that can fill kind of a niche. And I think that's what I like when people give like interesting gun balancing choices in like the Breachers, Discord server. Like, hey, like I want to see this gun used more, but not make it overpowering. Because I think that's the biggest problem people have. Like some people recommend Marui changes from the stance of I'm tired of the Vezin, but that's not how it should be seen. It should be I want to see a competent competition for the Vezin. And to me, it'd be awesome even if like 30-40% of people are like, you know what, Marui is my gun, that would be awesome. That would be amazing in terms of balancing, because now you have 2 top guns that are totally valid in whatever, you know, they need to fill. And I'm totally with you there. I get it. It gets kind of old playing the same fucking guns. Whenever I pick up the Marui, I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. And then I get dropped, and I'm like, never mind, I'm going back to the Vezin. It's just, you know, it never makes me like feel confident enough to keep it.
Yeah, I just get really excited when they change up.
Well, yeah, when the moment the devlogs open and like, oh, gun changes, like,
yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
It's like
that's fun, yeah. It's always fun.
It's like a early Christmas, like when that happens, like, finally gun changes, and it's like stuff that won't even like fully apply until like a couple like weeks in, because everyone's still gonna use the same gun again. So like unless they opt to like nerf the Vezin, which I'd say I'm fine with, to like maybe put the other guns in like a neutral territory, so you know obviously those could still be viable. You know, as you said, you know, having a bit of like a kill bonus with these like lower tier guns or less expensive guns. So like, you know, there's a reason to pick some of these guns rather than just, you know, having like the same cyclone and spectral slash Vezin meta.
Yeah, I think one of the cool, like an interesting choice too is like for SMGs, maybe just, or just like for other things like the shotguns, like just lowering costs. Like it makes them less risky plays, and that kind of makes them more valuable, right? Because now if I can pick up a Knut for 1500, 1400, something like that, people can still look at me sideways like, oh, you're kind of crazy. But if I find a niche and get really good at it, it kind of feels like a Taurus spot where it's like pretty cheap in terms of its comparison to the Vezin, but if you really learn how to use it, it becomes a strong economy weapon. And I think that's why sometimes people do use the Omen, because when you're talking about people being aggressive against Vezins, if they're really close proximity, or even against other pistols, it can be a good aggressive risky choice that does eventually pay off. And because of its cheapness, it still allows you to eventually upgrade to your higher tier assault rifles. And I think that's why the SMG just suffers, because it has to, I think they're balancing it in such a way that it has to like kind of be in tiers, right? At the end of the day, you're always gonna have those top tier assault rifles, and I feel like it should be built towards that, because these are 2900. It'd be weird to have an SMG that's directly comparable to those high cost assault rifles, but it's got to be, you know, kind of a stepping stone, right? Kind of like people don't play the Jesper, right? They play the Spectral because it has a good spot, and that's why that nerf was a big deal, right? That Jesper nerf was a really big deal, because arguably I remember the Spectral was barely used, because it was just like, well, people used to say this shit. It's just a fucking it's a Jesper with a $500 silencer, and I was like, holy shit, like you're fucking right. So like,
do y'all remember like I think it did shake it up a little. Like a lot was the like 2-hit cyclone meta. It was like 2 taps to the head, which was like arguably better, because if an enemy wasn't looking at you and you get that first hit, like, you know, that's like a guaranteed like automatic gunfight that you win. And like it's only like I don't know what, $100. So like, you know, they lose out on like 2,900 while you only spend 500. So like that's an insane like economy advantage that you have, which is, you know, obviously I see why they wanted to nerf it. They didn't just want to, you know, see people just run cyclones all the time, because obviously that would start to get annoying. But
I know, but like, they say that, but then
similar, like,
we're back to Spectrals all the time, right? So it's hard, right? I think to me, my ideal choice is not that it's just down to one gun per category being used, but like ideally, like all pistols have a good spot that they're kind of not equally used, but in terms of cost, they're equally used, right? If I was willing, people that are willing to spend 500, like half of them might get the Cyclone, half of them might get the Spectral. People willing to spend 0, obviously they're all getting the fucking Jesper. And then the risky players, hey Nay in the chat, get the fucking Taurus, right? And then the SMGs, I think that's why I think the coolest one was like when people said just kind of flatten the cost of the SMGs, like 1100 and then maybe like 13 and then 15 or something like that. That way they're all kind of within realm of each other. They're all kind of not as risky plays, but they're still in a better, more valuable spot because they're cheaper. Because like I said, I think Viper and RCB sometimes are just too risky of plays that you end up being in economy limbo, which you don't want, right?
Right.
it kind of ends up being shitty. But anyways, I think we kind of ran guns in the ground. I feel like we can always talk about guns another day. Let's try to run through these a little quicker. But how do y'all feel about map choices coming up in the upcoming season? You know, we're talking about Dam coming up, and that's now, what is that, 6 maps?
Yep.
You know, correct me if I'm wrong. 6
6
maps in the rotation.
That is 6.
Right, so that I think that allows that might allow the potential for 2 teams now to ban, one team banning and then the other banning. Do you think, one of my questions I had was, do you think this is going to lead to more of team specializations, or teams just going to ban the weird maps and just rely on the standard maps? Or how do you feel about potentially both teams now having the choice to ban maps? Because that used to give the away team, right, a good amount of power, and that they could ban a map that they feel like didn't favor the home team. But that won't be the case anymore. If they end up allowing Dam, I imagine it would allow a double ban situation. How do you think that would kind of impact map choices going forward?
You can go, Hertage.
Okay. I feel like you know, with addition of 6 maps, I feel like, you know, if you know, leagues do want to opt for, you know, going with 2 bans, then it does open up like a Pandora's box of how map picking is gonna go. Like, it's like, do you just want to ban your worst map? Do you want to just ban what your opponent's good at? Do you just want to, like, you know, ban certain maps that you didn't put much practice into? So like, it does really put in that mind game of like what you want to go for. But at the same time, I feel like these I think I'm just gonna say this flat out. I think Dam is like a map that shouldn't be in the map pool. I just don't think it's that good.
You're the biggest map hater. Sorry, you're the biggest Dam
I've-
hater. I remember we casted it, I think, earlier last
Yeah,
week. Or
I've
whatever.
said
You're
it,
the
I
biggest
don't
hater
like
of Dam.
I don't like Dam. It's just that
All right, you should be that guy that hops in the Breachers Discord and just says, "I fucking hate this map. Do something about it," and then make a suggestion with no actual suggestions and just say, "I hate Dam." Get rid of
so basically what the community did for like the half of 2023. But yeah, I think this is gonna I feel like maps should be thoroughly tested, because I feel like, you know, with even though we've still had, you know, the original 3 maps, there were still a ton of bugs that like passed by like the testers build and still went through the live build. So I feel like there has to be like some thorough like investigation before they've decided to like put it in. Maybe you know, run like a internal scrim, or like talk with some of these top teams saying, hey, is this map still good for, like, you know, putting it into the map pool? Like, should we add this, or should we just still keep our original 5?
Are you okay though with maps now taking longer development though? Because what you're suggesting would take a longer development cycle, and you might see less maps come out per year, right? I for me, it's always exciting to see a new map. Sounds like you'd rather have a good map versus an okay map that gets, because, you know, we've seen it. They come out with map balances all the fucking time. I don't know how many times I've seen Triangle Factory say they, you know, cut this spot, whatever, this spot. That happens very consistently, right? Which again,
Man, I remember they like a long time ago when I was there was a specific spot in Skyscraper in the server room. Like, you used to be able to hide behind this little box, and I would see that all the time. And I would always
I
get
forgot
kills.
about that.
And then they patched it, and I was so pissed. So yeah, so it is I would say kind of like semi-common, or like see to make some like
and
map
that's
choices,
Skyscraper. That's been here since release, right? That's how long that testing would take. Imagine
they've
maps taking a
updated
whole
a lot
lot,
of
like a
stuff,
whole
'cause,
year,
like,
right?
Yeah, on Skyscraper they've patched like the one way from like studio, from like the top staircase. They patched that specific one way, and then they also like patched, you know, wall baking throughout the halls inside a podcast, as well as like studio. So that's, you know, they're still looking at these issues. So it is nice to know that they are putting efforts. You know, they're actually, you know, they got rid of the pixel walk on the balcony and hideout. So
I remember
you know,
that
they
one
are
being a big one. I was kind of shocked they went with that.
That was such a, it was so controversial.
Yeah, I don't know. I have mixed opinions. I feel like I think competitive leagues are totally allowed to do whatever they do, and for competitive integrity, it makes sense to ban certain things. I feel like sometimes for just general play, I don't know if that's always should be the case, but I get if they introduce a ranked game mode, they want to have competitive integrity too. So I can see why they might lean into those map choices, even for I don't want to say pub people, but pub people too, right? Because it impacts everyone. They're not gonna have two different maps, one for ranked and one for pub play. But I found it interesting. But I don't know. I like that they'd rather develop these maps faster, and then the people get the hands on it. And at the end of the day, they're gonna get the same reports. I argue with better testing, because there's like not just a small group of people, but like a shit ton of people hitting their heads against these maps, and then they can kind of work it out. And I think for us, we benefit from another new map, love it or hate it, right? I mean, I hear strong opinions about Dam apparently already, but Arctic was different, right? I didn't hear the same kind of hate. People actually enjoyed Arctic. So it sucks. Like, you're not going to always get maps that hit, right? But when you do, it's kind of fun. And I'd rather get that sooner than in potentially a year or a year and a half, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to please everybody. There are people that love and hate each map. For instance, I'm a really big fan of Ship. A lot of people aren't.
Yeah,
I wonder why. I wonder why.
Okay, Hertage. Okay, but yeah, I think it'll definitely make an interesting game, like Hertage pointed out, where there's definitely the mind game of, do you want to ban this map? Do you want to ban the map that you don't like? Do you want to ban the map that your opponents are really good at? I think it really kind of depends on the team. If you're going against a team that's known for how well they play on a certain map, then you're definitely going to ban their best map, as opposed to like your least favorite map. But yeah, it should be a pretty interesting game. But yeah, I'm not quite sure how I feel about both teams getting a map ban, because I feel like we're gonna still see a ton of Hideout, Factory, and Skyscraper. And to your point, I mean, I like the original 3 maps: Hideout, Factory,
I think
Skyscraper.
with like competitive, it's like why should we like care about this change? I feel like that's with every esports team. Like no, like when you play a game for like multiple years, and then when something changes, you're like, oh, I don't want this. I'd rather just go back and then just go back to this stuff, and then because that's what it is. Because like we have these like new maps like Ship and Arctic, and like now they're getting a lot more playtime. But like back, I think in season 2 there wasn't that game.
I think Arctic is one of the few
when-
maps where it had a lot of play in its initial competitive season release, right? Because I think Arctic I looked it up, like it has more play than I think Ship and I think even Skyscraper. I gotta double check that, but I was shocked. That is one of the few maps where it got a lot of, like, a good amount of play, more than an old 3 map. One of the original 3 maps, which is a big deal. In its initial release season, right? We'll see if that follows into the next season, but that's a big deal, right? And it shows that I think people are open to new maps, but I think it's definitely very dependent on how the general populace feels about it, right?
Yeah, and I'll try and wrap this up quickly so I can get to our last talking point. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are definitely maps released like Ship where people it releases and people immediately hate it, and that happened with Arctic too. When at least from my experience, I found a lot of people who didn't like it immediately, but as these maps are in the game longer, people start to adapt to them more, and teams realize, hey, if we specialize on this, we'll have a leg up in competitive, because other people don't like to play this. I mean, we've had Factory, Skyscraper, and Hideout for the longest in the game. Technically, Factory was around since the alpha, but people are so used to these maps that when something new releases, that that's more angles that you have to learn, more callouts that you have to learn. People don't necessarily want to do that immediately, and so they go, okay, well, I don't like this new map, and I'm just going to continue to play on Hideout, Factory, and Skyscraper. But I don't know. I think it's definitely important to continue to add new maps. Because it's nice to change up the pace and give new angles, because Hideout, Factory, Skyscraper, it's hard to find a spot that people haven't already used. A lot of the pushes work the same way. A lot of the defense, hiding spots are the same, because I mean, people have just played on the maps for so long, they already know them really well, at least in a competitive context. But Yeah, I do like the newer maps for that reason, that they're, and I have a love-hate relationship with Dam, because it's definitely like I have no idea where I am half the time in the map. But I do like that it creates new angles and new opportunities for pushes that you don't see in the other maps.
Yeah, I think so. That's why I thought it was interesting, because I always think that the original three, or at least Factory and Hideout specifically, those maps will always come. I think will always come down to the just mechanically better team. Everyone's played them, so there's
Yeah.
nothing interesting. So that's why I thought, I don't know, maybe with a double ban, a team, if they realize, hey, like we're technically not as good as the other team, we should ban Hideout, or we should ban Factory, knowing that they can rely on the map for pure gun skill, and if they have potentially better map knowledge on one of the other 4 maps, like say Factory and Hideout get banned in the same rotation, that means you have to play either Skyscraper, which I think I hear a lot of mixed opinions about all the time still, but then you're talking about it's literally going to be Skyscraper plus one of the newer 3 like post-release maps, which to your point, like people are still figuring it out because people just haven't had the same amount of time playing those, and that can be a big benefit, right? I know we've heard a couple different times like, hey, does this team specialize on his map? I know people say things like teams like Restart, right? They specialize on a map like Ship because it's just, I don't know, they play it that much, they love it for whatever reason. So I can see it being, I don't know, I can see it being an interesting strategy choice if they try to cut out the original 3 maps, because they're like, all right, let's focus on weird maps. And I can see a team being almost like a wild card team now, where they're like, oh, we only play weird maps or whatever, and that'd be kind of funny. That'd be kind of cool. But anyways, that that was that choice is definitely gonna be an interesting choice. We'll see if they do bring it into the upcoming season, or not. They probably will, but I'd be shocked if they didn't, because they've been pretty good, I think, on bringing in the new maps into rotation every time they were released. But I guess just kind of before we sign off, are there any upcoming, I guess, season wishes you'd like to see, either from VRML itself, Triangle Factory, just Breachers, the community? I don't know. What do y'all, is there anything you're like, oh, I wish you had this? Like, this is something I'm still looking forward to.
You want to go first, Hertage?
I feel like no, because I'm gonna go on a lengthy rant. So I think it's better off with you two starting.
For me, we already kind of covered this earlier. I'd like to see some more balance changes. Because
in terms of guns, you think?
In terms of guns, gadgets, I'd like to see some changes there, just to kind of shake up the competitive feel of the game. And apart from that, I'd like to do another casters versus mods match for the VRML.
We need a rematch. We need a rematch with more tier 1 players, because apparently a lot of the mods are fucking up there. Which I didn't know.
They had Angel, they had Sleepy Penguin, they had.
Well, now they're gone. Now they're gone. We stand a chance. We stand a chance.
Now we stand a chance.
I know, but I didn't know. I didn't know they were that fucking good.
No, we still have Payday though. We're still fucked.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
We have Martini. He was a captain of his own team.
I'm okay. I don't know if I could carry a team that's very against those players. If we're in like a gold, maybe flat,
We do have Gravy.
Okay, thank God for Gravy. I remember I was in that cast. I was like, Gravy, what the fuck are we doing? Like, tell us. I was like, tell us what to do. We need someone to tell us what to do. And I remember, I think his response like, we just gotta get kills. I'm like, we need more, dude. We're not like you. We're not built like you. We're not built like you, Gravy. Because I forgot what caster it was, but I remember he was just like, yeah, man, I played for like maybe a couple weeks. I'm like, fuck. Like that was like in my mind. I'm like, we're cooked. We're so fucking cooked.
That's the problem though with casters.
They had Frosty. They had Frosty who had like 0 hours on the game.
Yeah, but they had two
competitive
players on their team. What do you know, Hertage? You weren't there. You were casting. You were in the front lines with us.
Yeah, I was on the front lines. I was holding myself down by the skin of my. I don't even know, whatever. But I remember one time I thought I was going hot shit.
Mother Nature just personally stopped me from like shitting on the mod. So.
Yeah, I mean, we tried our best, but I'm down for an exhibition match, a real exhibition match, not a fucking. Well, I'll say this: like the mods were fucking around too. Someone pulled out a shotgun. I'm like,
yeah.
At least he's fucking around. I'll give him that. Like he's still stomping us. but he's fucking around. So that's okay. But I think for me, one of the big things I would like to see, besides, I know I gave a lot of shit to that global champion skin. I would love to see a very unique color or interesting color or a standout color. But in terms, I have similar wishes, honestly, for economy choices, but maybe more on the actual economy side, like things like
Right.
those buy bonuses, or sorry, not like kill bonuses on
Kill
SMGs
bonuses,
or something like that, right? Like the weird guns, if they got a kill bonus, that would be very interesting, right? It would kind of reward, I think, riskier plays and that sort of stuff. Otherwise, I don't know. I think utility seems to be in a pretty solid spot. I haven't really had any complaints about that. I am curious to see though how additions to the game will be, like new guns or new utilities. That's something I'm really looking forward to. But
Mhm.
I get it. I think they're trying to curate the balancing around the set of guns now, and that becomes very hard once you start adding in more and more stuff. But I'll say this, like the buy menu does have space on it, right? So I think no, like it does, right? So
I
Yeah,
think
it
we use
does.
the
similar
word
to map
shotguns.
choices,
That's what it looks like.
similar to the map choices, I think they always left the possibility that like maybe we can add something in later. We don't know, but that possibility is always definitely there, right? But Hertage, what do you got? Maybe don't rant for too long. But what did you have in mind? I'm kind of curious
Okay.
now.
I feel like okay. I think I'm just gonna have two. One for Triangle Factory, and then one dedicated with like. I think I'm gonna prioritize the League one first. Is that I really would want like a dedicated pro league. Obviously we have like open leagues. You could just sign up, and then you just you play. But I kind of want something with like if you want to play in this league, you have to like get through qualifiers, like
Like a pro
and
league?
then yeah, like a dedicated pro league.
Okay. Damn,
And
you already
then-
want that? We're only on season 3, brother.
well, listen, we got like 90 teams. I think it's possible.
So let me give you
Um,
I hate to cut in, sorry Hertage. But I'll give you context, dude. Like even I don't know if you know about the Echo VR team, but they had like 300, right?
fucking-
And they had a NEPA. They
They-
finally
I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
They
yeah,
had master tier.
it took them that long though, but
Um,
it took them years before they even got remotely close to a pro league, right? And that didn't work out for a variety of reasons. But okay, pro league. That's
no, I
a
feel like
strong
there's
wish.
now no, because like with Echo, there's like people like coming in and out. But with Breeders, there are like so many people like that are committed to the game that's like it could be possible.
Okay.
But I think the amount of teams that are in, and I feel like that is debatable. But I feel like obviously maybe like having dedicated like splits, kind of what like Siege or League of Legends does, or like having dedicated months to like play, and then you earn money off of like that specific if you play well, and you have your basic off season for like a month, and then you go like you dive straight back into it. So like enough to like cover, but like enough to like keep that I'd say like competitive edge going. And then I think the wild card is like if you play like shit, like bottom two teams have to fight to keep their spot in the league. And then if you like lose that specific like I say promotion and relegation type league.
Yo,
Like,
Hertage wants
you
a
have to make it through.
full fucking pro
Yeah.
league with multiple divisions. He's okay. You have strong visions. Okay,
I
I'm in
have,
for the upcoming season, Hertage.
for the upcoming season. And then this is probably where the rants. This one, Triangle Factory. This game
Oh,
has been out for nearly a year. This game has been nearly out for a year, and I've been waiting so fucking much for a fucking overtime, and we've got overtime. But
Okay.
why is overtime
Okay.
in ranked? Why is overtime the only time it's there? It's in ranked. I've like ever since we've had like the fucking talk show, like with you, like Wesley and I forgot who. Like it said, oh yeah, we finally got overtime. There we go. But I'm the only one in chat that is asking, like, do we get this in customs? Do we get overtime in customs? And I'm getting ghosted. I'm getting ghosted on this. And like the only time that I suggested is like I put this in questions for the team. I put this in the stage. I put it like everywhere. I asked for it like 10 times.
I ain't
and
gonna lie,
no one else
Hertage.
wants to do it until the end of the season.
I ain't gonna lie,
And
Hertage.
the one
I
time
even put a
it doesn't,
suggestion in.
it gets like 150 likes in the suggestions. Like, how is it not thought of already?
Maybe they just don't listen to you. Maybe if Martini put a suggestion,
I did.
in,
I actually. So funny enough,
did you really?
+1 Hertage. I actually did. I think when comp first came out, I actually put in a suggestion.
Yeah, that has like 60 upvotes, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even considered.
I know. I don't think I got anything on there, and it's crazy because I know people liked it. I think I think your big ass then Hertage is honestly like a genuine custom match mode. Like you can really customize things, and that would be really fun. And I thought that's what you were gonna say. I honestly thought you were gonna say like it's been so long now. Like we should have had a custom, like a fully fleshed out custom mode kind of setup done by now.
I mean, even if you don't want to go that route where like you can adjust so many different settings, I still feel like at the very least have an option to disable bots, have an option to enable overtime.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
right?
saying. Like I
mean,
think
like
a couple,
ties, nobody particularly likes ties.
No one likes that.
From a narrative standpoint. Like if you want to create a story like, oh, Acer and F3, the last time they fought each other, they, completely tied and there was no winner. So now there's a lot riding on this matchup in VRML con. But I mean, ties are just boring. They're unsatisfying. Everybody spends all that time watching and waiting for a winner, and then to just not get one is really kind of frustrating. So I definitely agree that at least have the option to enable it when you're making custom servers, because it would be nice to have that in VRML.
Honestly, though, even in terms of narrative, I think it still falls below overtime, because you can say the same thing like, oh, this team went to double, triple overtime last time, right? And that's still a big deal too. And I'm gonna be honest, it hits the same, if not better, because to your point, it has conclusion. And I think in terms of the casting, it's easier too.
You could say like the last time Acer and F3 went against each other, Acer won. So now it's like, can F3 come back and take down Acer this time around? So I mean, you could do that too. And that would eliminate any value that ties have. But yeah, I don't like ties at all.
Yeah, I get that. Hertage +1 for that one, because I +2 because I fucking put in a suggestion for it too. And to your point,
oh yeah, you want to speak on servers? You want to speak on servers? These servers need some better tick rates, because I have never seen so many cheese. Like I don't know how. Like
hold on, Hertage. What part of the country are you in? I'm curious. What part of the country?
I'm in the West. I'm US West.
I ain't gonna lie, so West, you kind of fuck. You kind of just fuck.
I'm getting cheese because everyone is playing on East servers.
Oh really?
I'm like losing. If you play on West, you automatically lose.
I feel like everyone in the US should just play Central. I feel like it's the most like it's the safest option, because you never know who you're playing someone on West or East.
You know what they say, Martini? East is beast. All right.
Who says that? I've never heard that. I have literally
it's the ideal region to play on. I'm sorry, Hertage. You're just gonna have to deal with the bad ping.
You get fucked.
It's just. Yeah.
Hey, Nathan, West sounds like a skill issue.
Exactly. That's what it sounds like to me.
Honestly, that's why I had to ask that, because like the amount of times I hear someone say they're on West Coast, I'm like, you're just fucked. Like, I'm sorry, like, because my team, when I was in the team, we had a couple people on West, like 1 or 2, but everyone else was East or Central, and we just chose Central as like the most like safe option. And I think Central or East kind of just equally fucks West, different degrees, but it still fucks West no matter what. So kind of just, it's kind of like get fucked. I don't know, man. But I get it, Hertage. That's gotta suck, man. I can't imagine like being a whole different region just kind of fucks you from the game. That sucks. But anyways, thank y'all for hopping on to this cast. I mean, we'll figure out. I mean, we'll talk if y'all want to do it again. We can talk about other topics. Let me know in the chat or reach out to us. I had a good time, honestly, talking through a lot of these topics. I think it's a very different format than we're used to, right? We can only bitch so much, I think, on the live cast about certain things without getting in trouble. But thanks for y'all hopping in, viewing us, checking us out. It's been a great time, honestly, hopping on the cast. Thank you, Gibular Bob, Hertage, Gravy from earlier. It was I think for me, it was a really good change of pace, really getting to walk through all this and talk through things. But thank you all for coming in, checking us out, and maybe we'll see y'all on the next one.